They play this game for the Old Oaken Bucket. Since 1925, when the day is over, Purdue is hoping they can fill that thing with roses. Last week, Joe Tiller was very disappointed in his team's performance at Michigan State. But he's looking ahead to Indiana today. His team is all done answering questions about the Rose Bowl.
People ask me, well, how are you going to keep your team from, responding or thinking or what have you? And I said, well, I hope from experience. The year they did it for the previous 2 weeks. Now maybe we can just respond to this football game. This is a huge rivalry game for Purdue. Regardless of the implications, this has always been a big football game for these two respective universities.
But no bigger ever in the history of the program than it is for that man today. Joe Tiller has put his faith in that young man for 4 years, and today Drew Brees and the rest of the senior class will play their final game at Ross-Ade Stadium. And who could have imagined when he arrived as a freshman back in 1997 that Drew Brees would play his final game at Ross-Ade Stadium with a chance to play for the Rose Bowl. It was a very business-like week here in West Lafayette after the loss to Michigan State. All the disappointment, but a second chance like you could not imagine as Northwestern lost their game to Iowa with the Hawkeyes playing so well down the stretch. And as a result, these Purdue seniors not only get a second chance to play for the granddaddy, David Norrie, they get to do it at home.
And last week, of course, Sean, they went up against a last-place team, a team tied for last place in the Big Ten. They couldn't convert. It doesn't get any bigger than this. And in a rivalry game, Sean, you have got to be ready for things happening that don't normally happen. The best team does not always win in these rivalry games.
If you're a Purdue fan, you have to be happy that Mother Nature has smiled upon you today. The wind has not gusted very much. It has been warmer than originally forecast. It's been about 40 degrees most of the day. Obviously, David, if the wind picks up, the colder it gets. That is not good news for Drew Brees and the spread offense.
No, when you're a quarterback and you're playing in November, the wind can often be a bigger factor than rain or snow. It's going to be interesting to chart the wind throughout this game, and obviously the Purdue offense with Drew Brees, they're going to want to put it up 40-45 times this afternoon.
60 minutes to Pasadena. Travis Dortch the kickoff. Darren Graham is back deep for the Hoosiers. He will let it bounce. It will go out of bounds, and Indiana will begin at the 35, and they will turn over the keys to this car to one of, and maybe the most dangerous player in the nation.
Certainly the most dangerous quarterback this side of Michael Vick. And the reason why he's so dangerous, you can play great defense, you can play fundamentally sound, you can stick to your responsibilities on defense, and he'll still burn you. A very dangerous runner and very capable of making the big play down the field in the passing game.
5 plays for Indiana on their first possession, none of them run option. Dwayne Hogan is the fullback, as Randall L. will change the play. He often has several choices when he comes to the line of scrimmage. Hogan, the fullback, avoids one, has a first down. Last week, Michigan State ran the ball very well up the gut against Purdue. Indiana wants to do the same thing today. We check out our Chili's starting lineups. Randall L. gets the attention all Levron Williams has done in his career with great size at 6'4", 221. His rush for 7 yards per carry. He did not start in this game on the first possession. He's been bothered by a hip flexor. Spent last week's game against Wisconsin on the exercise bike. But he is out there now and a very dangerous component to an Indiana offense that has put up a ton of numbers.
Randall L. the ball carrier. Penalty markers stop play.
Got a little chippy on the opening possession as well. You've seen quite a bit of that throughout the country today on Rivalry Saturday. Have no illusions.
Offside on the defense. 5 yards, first and 5.
The offensive line for Indiana was a group. None of these players had played any of these positions when the year started. They are all a hodgepodge group. Greg Osico was a tight end who caught 11 passes from Antoine Randall last year. A very underrated, maybe undersized Purdue defensive line. Akin Adele will be an All-American next year. Book it. After the penalty, 1st and 5. Gaddis is the lone receiver, double tight end. Here's our first look at the option. Randall will pitch it late if he wants to, and that's why the Purdue defense had to be true to it. They got to get to Antoine Randall in the backfield because he will pitch that thing as late as you can imagine.
And Purdue has great speed on defense, but number one priority for the Boilermakers, stop the option. Watch Woodyard, number 7. He's going to take the pitch man and the quick decision making. What speed when he decides to break it upfield. Antoine Randall. I mean, he is a load to handle. He is the X factor in this ballgame.
14 yards for Randall. Again, the one receiver. This time they'll try the other side. Randall had nowhere to go. He knew better than to pitch it late. It would have been big trouble, and he has thrown for a loss. Gilbert Gardner comes to make the play for Purdue, and he is a true freshman in a group of linebackers that is young, fast, and did I mention young? A true freshman, a redshirt freshman, and a sophomore comprise a linebacking core trying to get to the Rose Bowl today. And speaking of freshmen, the Big Ten Freshman of the Year may end up being Stu Schweigert, the free safety. The entire defense, Brock Spack told us yesterday, funnels through him, and he will lead this team in tackles as a true freshman. The battle before the season started between the offense and the defense as to who would get his services. He was an option quarterback in high school with Brock Spack, who you just saw won that battle, and is happy to have him on his defense. Randall, big hole. They bid on the dive. He will get to the outside. Woodyard forces him out of the 25, but he has got an Indiana first down. In the game 1 year ago, David, Randall killed Purdue on 3rd and long.
Yeah, and Randall is not just dangerous on the option. He's not just dangerous on the scramble. He has designed plays inside. He's going to belly the fake to the fullback, follow the fullback up into the hole. Some nice blocking downfield by Versi Gaddis. And this kid is dangerous. When you talk to coaches, all they tell you is, we're glad we don't have to line up against him again this year. If they have him next year on the schedule, they say, we hope Randall goes early in the NFL draft.
Something he said this week he would not do if Cam Cameron is brought back as the head coach at Indiana. 18 yards for Randall on that last run. Hogan, the fullback, fights through 2 and has a healthy chunk of yardage on first down. Dell Game Solutions time.
Yeah, when you're lining up against Purdue and you're the Indiana offense, you want an offensive game from number 11 like the one he posted against the Gophers earlier this year. Over 450 yards of total offense, went over 200 yards on the ground. Purdue defense, square number 1, stop the option, take away the perimeter run game from the Hoosiers.
Randall threw for 200 and ran for 200 in that game against Minnesota. Those are staggering numbers, and there is no end to the list of numbers he has put up through his first 3 years. Randall beats the first man, puts it on the ground. Gardner hit him, knocked it loose, and Purdue has got it. Akin Adele on the recovery. Randall giveth, and sometimes Randall taketh away.
Watch number 53, Sean Phillips. He makes the play. He gets penetration. He forces Randall to bow, and the hit by Gardner. Adele right there to make the recovery. The first big play of this ball game, and if there's been an Achilles heel for Antoine Randall, it's turnovers in big football games.
In critical situations. Threw an interception in the end zone last week against Wisconsin. 2 weeks ago, fumbled as he was going in for a touchdown at Illinois. Seth Morales, the receiver who caught the biggest pass of the year for Purdue against Ohio State, is the one who goes in motion. Breeze escapes trouble as he does so well, and his pass is completed. Donald Winston has a big gain into Indiana territory. And that play is made by the escapability and underrated quality of one Drew Brees.
I think Drew Brees is a better quarterback on the move and a better quarterback buying time. He just gets outside. This is a beautiful ball, right on the money. And how about Winston? What a story. Now, Winston broke his ankle, the same bone in his ankle, 3 consecutive years. He's fought, he's scratched, he's stayed in the lineup, and he's become a big play performer for Purdue. We take a look at the strengths for Drew Brees. Of course, 4-year player, the decision making, and he's at his best when the game's on the line.
29-yard catch and run for Winston. It breaks down. Breeze has open field in front of him. First down, and he will slide out of bounds inside the 30, down near the 26. In support of Drew Brees this afternoon and the Boilermakers attempt to go to the Rose Bowl. This is the group he will have. Winston, a backup receiver you saw make the big play. His go-to guy is Vinny Sutherland, who we understand did not have a vote that held up the election in West Palm Beach. Vinny Sutherland has made big play after big play this year for Purdue. Breeze, quick out, incomplete, looking for Sutherland. On this, the second possession. Both teams, David, really giving us different looks on each of their first two possessions. Indiana didn't run any option on their first possession, then ripped it down the field with option. And now Drew Brees throwing the ball here on Purdue's second possession after they ran it exclusively on their first.
Yeah, big dose of Montrell Lowe, the tailback for Purdue. And as we mentioned last year's game, Lowe 135 yards against Indiana, and he's had a couple big games rushing over the course of this 2000 season.
4 receivers and a tight end, Stratton, who is essentially a receiver in a tight end's body. Quarterback draw. It breaks down for Breeze. He doesn't have much, maybe a yard or two inside the 25. Maybe the most underrated offensive line in the entire country protects Drew Brees. And his best friend on the team, he says, is Matt Light, the lighthouse, who like a beacon protects his quarterback. They will go head-to-head with this group. Paul Mandina is the leader of the Indiana defense. He came from Rochester, New York, and when he arrived in Bloomington, he didn't know what a Hoosier was. He thought it was the movie. But he has come to fall in love with the Oaken Bucket and would like nothing better than to put it on the team bus when this game is over. Purdue, an excellent third down team. This is third and long. Breeze has Stratton over the middle, complete, first down. Down to the 12. Stratton named a Mackey Award finalist on Monday as one of the top tight ends in the country. His 53rd catch of the year.
And this is what makes Breeze so special. We talked about decision making. He's going to check 2 receivers on the right side, on the front side. His third choice, you see him reload there. He comes right back to Stratton. Ball delivered a little bit behind number 89, Stratton. Gears down, makes a big catch. First down for the Boilermakers.
12 yards and a first down. Montrell Lowe is the lone setback. He will get it. Flags are down as Lowe is in. Hold the phone. The laundry has fallen in an area that normally does not bode well for the offense. Today it does. Touchdown.
Offside on the defense. Penalty is declined. Touchdown.
Just the third touchdown of the year for Montrell Lowe.
It looked like a Hoosier was lined up in the neutral zone, Sean.
Travis Dorsch will attempt the extra point.
34 yards in the first quarter for Montrell Lowe, but those were the biggest of his football life. Travis Dorsch is on to add the extra point, and he cannot do it. We've seen a bunch of those already today. On their second possession, Purdue goes the length of the field. Montrell Lowe, the sophomore from LaPorte, Texas, has put Purdue on the board. Thought it was all there for them last week, but everyone was slapped back down with the loss to Michigan State. It's been a very business-like week. Optimism has been put in check, but faith in that man is still at an all-time high.
And really key in this football game, especially with Antoine, Randall on the field. Purdue, if they can jump out to an early lead, that'll alleviate a lot of the pressure that you feel in a Rose Bowl clinch type effort.
No backs. Breeze loves to throw to Stratton out of that set. Close to a first down, but short down to the Indiana 43. Nine on the catch for Stratton. Breeze has started 3 of 6.
Joe Tiller looking to get a piece of one of those games as well.
Of course, ABC Sports is the home of your Bowl Championship Series games. All the big ones will be right here. Lowe has the first down. He's got enough. For the first time today, we check in at Times Square Stadium with John Saunders. He's got the Civil War.
It's the Burger King update. Oregon State. Which of these two teams could be headed to the Rose Bowl? presented by AT&T. Jonathan Smith to Robert Prescott for the touchdown. Second hookup of the day. And Oregon State has grabbed an impressive 14-0 lead.
All right, John, it is going to be really difficult for Oregon to go in there and win. I mean, they're going to have trouble scoring 14 points, I think, the rest of the game. Low on the pitch. He's inside the 40. Oregon State is so tough defensively, and Oregon is too, but already down 14 on the road. And of course, the Rose Bowl, you know the scenario there. If Oregon loses that game, they are out of the Rose Bowl race. It will either be Oregon State or Washington, if Washington can beat Washington State in the Apple Cup later on.
Yeah, the Ducks have had a lot of problems offensively. Maurice Morris, their JC transfer tailback, got off to a hot start, but that offense has been in a bit of a funk. And Oregon State, the #1 offense in the Pac-10 and the #1 defense as well.
On second down, the play action, Breeze rolling. The concentration of Breeze, as they will call this, incomplete, is something special. When he is under pressure, the way he was under pressure there, he has the knack that great quarterbacks do, David, to hang in there that one extra last second and create himself an opportunity at least to complete a pass.
A lot of opposing coaches talk about his accuracy. I think he's a more accurate passer when he's moving and when he's buying time in the pocket. He certainly displayed that kind of capability in the fourth quarter against Ohio State. I mean, he made 3 or 4 plays in that game moving in the pocket. There were as good a plays as I've seen from the quarterback position all year long.
Shift, 2 men moving at the same time on the offense. Penalty declined. 3rd down.
And football, both college and NFL, if you have 2 men moving offensively before the snap of the football, they have to come to a dead stop for a count. And that was not the case for Purdue on the last play. 5-yard penalty assessed.
Purdue has converted one of their 2 chances here on 3rd down early. Breeze on the run, creating extra time for himself, and he's got the true freshman Standiford for another 1st down inside the red zone.
And this is one of those don't try it at home type throws. Breeze on the move, full speed to his right. He's going to throw it all the way back across the field. And you have to have the moxie, the experience, and also the nerve of a burglar, which Drew Brees obviously has, to try to make this throw, especially in a game this big. Another great play on the move for Breeze, and a nice job by Standiford to find that little void in the zone defense.
Joe Gonzalez, a nickelback here against Purdue, is the one who made the stop. Breeze, plenty of time, throws it for Sutherland, just a little too far for him. Johnny Anderson over there on the coverage. He is the free safety. Sutherland was all alone, my friend. That was a free safety coming to get him.
Yeah, when you break down tape of Drew Brees, he'll give you some misfires, and he typically gives them to you on some of these rhythm routes. See, Sutherland didn't want to move upfield into the safety, into a hard spot. So what he did was he slowed things down, gave Breeze a nice picture along the sideline, and Breeze just flat out missed it.
Stratton, the tight end, lined up as a wide receiver. Plenty of time for Breeze. He's got Sutherland this time short. That is the Purdue-Bassin game. People think Purdue and Breeze, he's throwing the ball down the field all day. That is the Purdue offense. That last play right there. They're all short little routes.
Now, they don't have a receiver that averages more than 16 yards a catch, but in this football game, with the Rose Bowl on the line, you want to be safe with the football, especially in the red zone. As a quarterback, if you're Drew Brees, you're thinking, I want to come away with 3 points. I got that field goal in my back pocket. A touchdown is just icing on the cake.
Dorsch, remember, missed an extra point earlier. This will be a short field goal if they don't convert. Guess what? They do. Stratton, touchdown. They had to punt on their first possession, but Drew Brees is picking them apart right now. Missed the first, gets the second. They're nearly 1/4 of the way there. 2 front row seats at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena. The game has started exactly the way the folks at Ross-Ade Stadium hoped it would. Indiana all year long has stopped teams on their first defensive try, but afterwards it is all fallen apart. There are only 114 teams in the country, folks, and when you start seeing triple digits next to your ranking on those defensive numbers, that means you're giving up an awful lot of points. Graham and Carter back deep. They bobble it again up to bobble it up short. Again, it is Hogan out to the 40. Good field position for Randall L. Down by 13. This quarter has been the first quarter. And with a rose petal as the stakes, you trail the Boilermakers by 13 here.
Yeah, the turnover by Randall L. with no score, really a big factor early in this game, and really gave Purdue a lot of confidence midway through the first quarter.
Out of the eye, here comes Randall L. He's got plenty of time. He's got his fullback, Jeremy Johnson, who is up near an Indiana first down. He is a big old horse. There's the number. That is their best number. The first quarter, and it's been the best one for Cam Cameron. Usually opposing defenses are having difficulty trying to adjust to what Antoine Randall L. is throwing at them. Now they're going left here as the fullback's in motion. Randall L. with that late pitch to Brian Lewis. He's got room. Schweigert chasing him, gets him out at the 20. Great speed on the saving tackle by Schweigert, but Antoine Randall L., you think that Drew Brees is a riverboat gambler. Randall L. is the same way with that pitch.
Yeah, this is really the only quarterback in the nation that can get away with this. I mean, he leaps a defender, lands squarely on 2 feet, and ditches the ball outside with the left hand. I mean, what a play from an option quarterback. Now, let's just take a look at the pitch. He's going to leave his feet. He's going to briefly return to the ground, and a double-handed pitch. Unbelievable play by number 11.
He is a Y2K quarterback. He is a point guard, plain and simple, playing quarterback. Gaddis is the receiver in motion. Randall L. drops back for the first time, swings it neatly to Leveron Williams, and he is pursued well. Indiana, with their trickery and with Randall L., often have an advantage going to the outside like that, but remember, Purdue has that great speed and youth on defense.
Now, this is a nice decision by Randall L. He's trying to take a crack down the field to Dorsey. He doesn't have his man, the discipline to just swing the ball out to his second choice, Williams. And Williams, a nice job running with the football after the catch.
15 minutes are in the books at Ross-Ade Stadium. Antoine Randall L. and company will be uphill. ABC Sports presentation of college football returns after this message and a word from our ABC station. A win for Indiana today, Cam Cameron and their players say, would not salvage their season, but it would send the seniors off in the right direction and set the tone for that man's club with that quarterback at the helm next year. Big play in this game to this point is Randall L.'s fumble in quarter number 1 when this was a scoreless game and Indiana was driving on their second possession. Randall L. keeps it, has a gap, and is down near a first down. Both teams failed on their first possession in this game, but on their second possession, Indiana was driving after some long runs by Antoine Randall L. But here, he gets locked up by Gilbert Gardner, puts it on the ground, Adele the recovery, and then back-to-back touchdown drives engineered by Drew Brees.
Yeah, Brees, a nice job making some decisions in the pocket, moving, some accurate throws downfield, and then the 13-zip lead after the Stratton touchdown catch. A nice little corner route by number 89. The ball was delivered right on the money.
Montrell Lowe, the first touchdown. Tim Stratton, the second for Purdue. Antoine Randall L., if he had a huge day through the air today, could make another piece of NCAA history and wander into territory no one has ever wandered into before. Lewis tries to cut and pays the price. Did he get hammered? Ralph Turner came up and whacked him at the line of scrimmage.
Now, this is a heck of a job by a strong safety coming up into the hole and getting physical with a big tailback. The blocking is pretty good up front, but Turner sticking his nose up in there. Indiana right now, Sean, going with the dose of 2 tight ends. And remember, Michigan State had the most success over the last 4 or 5 games against this Purdue defense. The Spartans lined up and ran it right at the Boilermaker defense.
With the 2 tight ends, it means Gaddis is the lone receiver. Randall gets a block, gets time, end zone, touchdown! Versi Gaddis was all alone near the end line, and the Hoosiers are on the board. You give Randall L. an opportunity, and he'll put your lights out.
Cam Cameron, I'm sure, was holding his breath when that football was in the air. Remember last week against Wisconsin, 6-0 lead for Indiana just before halftime. Indiana knocking on the door, trying to extend the lead, and the big interception in the end zone thrown by Randall L. Not this time.
Andy Payne adds the extra point, and this game takes on a new complexion. Antoine Randall L. and the Hoosiers have arrived. The touchdown pass, the 3rd of the year for Versi Gaddis, has the Hoosiers on the board.
He may come up with a block.
Like David Norrie reaching for a check at dinner. Came up with the alligator arms.
At Chili's.
You'll eat those baby back ribs, but as soon as the check comes, start flailing around. You're always making a call or something's going on. I don't know where you are when the check comes.
Well, I'll tell you what, Sean, this has been a pretty evenly matched football game. If you take out of play the fumble by Antoine Randall L., and for a second there, it looked like Purdue was going to run away and maybe hide with a 13-zip lead, but Indiana, they've accounted for themselves pretty well in the first half of this ballgame.
Purdue's moving the ball. They have over 200 yards of offense. They've got 7 yards of play. Those are solid numbers. Breeze gets it away, incomplete. A.T. Simpson was the intended receiver, but Breeze, who was on the run, threw it a little bit behind him. You mentioned the Indiana offensive line and their protection of Antoine Randall L. This number is simply mind-boggling. Now, Purdue has thrown the ball 460 times this year. The offensive line has allowed only 8 sacks.
Less than 2% of the time, and what a tribute to the offensive line, and a great job by Matt Light, as we said, that blindside tackle protecting his senior quarterback.
Purdue's a great 3rd down team because it's usually 3rd and short. This is 3rd and 9, but it's no problem. Seth Morales has a 1st down out at the 49.
Breeze pass complete to Seth Morales at the 49.
By now, you are very familiar with the Seth Morales story.
Yeah, well, Joe Gonzalez, number 25, is the nickelback. Ron Bethel, the strong safety. And watch Morales sit down right in between. He bisects them. You know, offensive coaches talk about receivers bisecting the underneath defenders, finding kind of an equidistant spot, sitting down in that hole. And what a perfectly thrown ball by Drew Brees.
Seth Morales, a walk-on transfer, played last year, played his freshman year at non-scholarship Butler University. Everyone told him, don't walk on here. He did, and he might be going to the Rose Bowl. The winner of this game will take home the Old Oaken Bucket, and more importantly, they will get a link with the first initial of their school added onto the chain that is connected to it. A lot of stories about the bucket. It's Stanley Cup-like in its lore of things that have happened to it. It's disappeared, reappeared. It's become a symbol of this rivalry over the last 75 years. As a very late flag comes, way back in the secondary, some unsportsmanlike conduct. There has been some conversation going on between these two squads in the first quarter and a half.
James Bell, the defensive coordinator for Indiana, talked about making Drew Brees go a long ways, and 15-yard penalties, not a good way to get that done.
Randolph is a tight end in motion there, setting it up for Lowe. Only problem for tight end, and you see the extra tight end in there, it usually is a pretty good indication that they're going to run the football, and they do to Lowe. Justin Smith, not yet been a factor, probably their most talented defensive player, a junior linebacker. He's got 6 sacks. 4 of them came against Iowa. Moved around from strong safety. He put a hit on Travis Cole of Minnesota towards the end of that game, forcing the fumble. It sealed the game that Travis Cole is still feeling right now. Randolph again in motion. They show run to the right. They run to the right. They're going to be well short here. It's going to be another 3rd down situation upcoming.
We talked about Montrell Lowe, and you hear so much about the passing offense, Drew Brees, to Sutherland and Stratton and Standiford, but Montrell Lowe, a very unsung hero on this team. And remember, when Purdue lined up against Michigan earlier this year, Lowe outrushed Anthony Thomas, and against Northwestern, the #1 rusher in the Big Ten, Lowe had more yards than Damian Anderson. Both games he went over 100 yards.
You see the very healthy 3rd down conversion numbers, and you can ring up another one. Breeze is elusive. Now, you know where they found that Old Oaken Bucket? They found it on a farm about 75 years ago. It had just been sitting around, presumably, since the Civil War. I mean, there's, you know, who had much use for an Old Oaken Bucket? It was sitting around, and it was referred to as being in a state of disrepair. So you can only imagine what a 50-year-old bucket from the Civil War looked like.
Well, the one thing I observed is that Indiana has some catching up to do with those links.
Breeze again will survey it, and he will take timeouts when he feels like it. He doesn't feel the need to conserve them. If the time is right, he will use it. You see, he's got still 2 more to use. Well, people are coming in to see the game, where we know how to declare a winner. Again, 2 tight ends for Purdue, and again they run with it. Lowe gets to the 15. But unlike their first possession, the Boilermakers no longer breaking off big chunks of yardage on 1st down.
Now, we talked to James Bell, the defensive coordinator for Indiana, earlier this week, and of course he came over after a great job at Wake Forest for Jim Caldwell's super season for the Demon Deacons a year ago, and he said, we want to make them go a long ways. We want to take that bend and don't break attitude, and it has really kept them close in this football game. Clock underneath 3 minutes to go in the 2nd quarter. And the score, less than a touchdown.
Another run look, but finally they will throw out of it. Breeze, end zone, Sutherland, they will mark him out at the 1. He was in the end zone, but had to come back and get it. 1st and goal, Purdue. The other thing Indiana wanted to do today was contain Vinny Sutherland. They had until now.
And Sutherland's working against the best cover corner, Wallace, who had the interception earlier, and Sutherland doesn't look for the touchdown here. It's a smart play. What he does is he comes back to the football. He takes the angle away from the defensive back. You can wait for another play to break the goal line. Make sure of this catch and give your offense a 1st down inside the 1-yard line. Great play by Sutherland.
On the first try, Steve Ennis will not get in. In fact, he lost the yard. And it's used in goal line situations. How's this for a ratio coming into the final game of the year? 37 carries, 8 touchdowns.
And take a look at Justin Smith over the top, trying to time things up, and it really wasn't Smith that made the play. It's the penetration up front, the front 5 for Indiana on that goal line defense, getting great penetration in the middle and on the right side, and big loss on the play for Purdue.
Play action, Breeze gonna bootleg it in. Too many options for Purdue along the goal line, and they extend the lead late in quarter number 2.
Yeah, this is a little too easy. I mean, Indiana on a 2nd and goal from the 3.5, 4-yard line. You can't just let the quarterback walk in. And Drew Brees, an underrated runner, he's averaging just under 50 yards per game rushing, and remember in college football they add in the sack yardage as well, so pretty impressive numbers on the ground for Brees.
Dorsch makes it 2 out of 3 in extra points, and the lead is 13 again. Antoine Randall has a minute 55 and 1 timeout, but Drew Brees has put Purdue up 20-7. An interception thrown by Drew Brees, and Antoine Randall starting to feel it a little bit running Indiana offense. The Hoosiers jump back in this game and trail by only 6 after Randall threw the touchdown that you see to Versi Gaddis. But one minor problem for Indiana, with the exception of the interception, they have been unable to stop Purdue since the Boilermakers' opening possession of this game. They've been very efficient. They are on pace for another 500-yard offensive game, and they are back in control. Graham at the 7. Hits the middle, tries to get to the outside, now cuts back, and he's out to the 40. Darren Graham, who they have not been kicking to, just showed you why.
Yeah, we've talked about special teams all year long and how important they are, especially in the big games. And Indiana has done a nice job with the kick return unit, giving Antoine Randall and his offense some pretty impressive field position to start out.
Randall has thrown for 26 yards, as you see now, and run for 50. Indiana came out on its opening possession, did not run any option, gave Purdue a completely different look, and then they started the game for real on their second possession. And Randall might be the single most dangerous player in the country, and I don't think there is any debate about the following fact. There is no player more valuable to his own team than Antoine Randall is to Indiana. Gaddis has the touchdown catch. To the outside goes Randall, makes Clopton miss, and he's got another 8 yards on first down. Indiana. You just hold your breath, don't you?
Indiana with Antoine Randall, not the type of offense that's really well equipped for clock drives. And Indiana only 1 timeout remaining. You know, ideally you want to make throws beyond the first down change to stop the clock, and the clock continues to roll here at 2nd and short.
This time he gambles trying to go to the outside. Sean Phillips stays with him. Gets help from Ashante Woodyard. That clock will continue to roll on 3rd down. A game in which the Purdue Boilermakers came in riding a lot of emotion. A very frustrating loss last week to Michigan State. But the ever rare second chance to win a championship was afforded them. They have settled in after their first offensive possession. Drew Brees is in command.
This is a great time here to take a shot down the field, especially with less than 45 seconds on the clock.
Instead, Hogan will get himself a first down that will stop the clock at 35 seconds, as you see, allow Indiana to get set up.
As a quarterback, Antoine Randall, you get the stoppage of the clock. You want to get your team right up to the line of scrimmage. Don't burn that last time out. Still enough time to get in field position here to cut that lead potentially to 10.
Yes, here is where Indiana's style of offense hurts them in clock situations because they depend so much on the run. Randall flares it out incomplete. That, at the very least, will stop the clock. Realistically, you got to think they need another 20 yards to even have a decent shot at a field goal. And so far, as you'd expect on the final day of the season, with Randall as your best option, he has been almost their only option.
Yeah, he's the guy that you want keeping the football when you talk about option distribution. But as you look back over the course of this first half, not very successful for Cam Cameron. Only 7 points on the board. This Indiana offense has been in the top 10 in the country all season long.
That one pitch you saw came very late in the sequence too. It was already past the line of scrimmage when he pitched it. Randall, throw it, flare it, end zone, Graham, incomplete. They get Dorsey down there. Stops the clock again. Remember now, Indiana has a timeout.
Now, this is the aspect of Randall's game that really worries opposing defensive coordinators. Breaking through the rush, and he's as good throwing the ball, moving back to the line of scrimmage as he is moving to his right or his left. Just about 2 or 3 feet on the overthrow, but a lot of people here at Ross-Ade holding their breath with that football in the air.
Andy Payne has kicked 2 Indiana field goals of longer than 50 yards. From here, though, it would be 60. Indiana needs another 10 yards, and they have the timeout to use.
Stay back, stay back.
Randall, they'll take it out of bounds. That's going to do them no good.
Randall, the ball carrier.
They will give Randall a shot at the end zone. Randall has the 3 receivers. He's going to have room and time to throw it down there. Out of the end zone it goes. Shante Woodyard was there to defend it. Drew Brees runs it in himself to give his club a 13-point lead in the break. We'll return with the MSN halftime report with John and Terry after this message. 1 half of football remains in the 2000 Big Ten season. Season we will remember for a long, long time. Here are the 4 finals from today. With Michigan's win and Northwestern's win, Northwestern would go to the Rose Bowl if Indiana comes back and win today. Penn State finishes their season, a frustrating season in style. Minnesota becomes bowl eligible by beating Iowa on the final day of the season. Brees keeping his Heisman Trophy hopes alive, completes a short one to Sutherland. Brees now 17 of 24, very efficient. That group is thinking about how much warmer it would be in Pasadena. Probably wouldn't need those little headbands.
It's amazing.
The Rose Bowl.
It's amazing the weather you get around the start of January out in Pasadena. It'll be about 75, 80 degrees. Cheerleaders will have a great time out west if Brees can convert.
Stay back, stay back.
Again, he escapes. Again, makes himself time. This time simply has no options, and he throws it away. Well, it's time. Speaking of the Rose Bowl, for us to ask you our Aflac trivia question. Which Pac-10 or Big Ten team, which team period, has had the longest Rose Bowl drought? Longest span of time in between appearances.
You're going to have to help me with that, Sean. What's a drought?
What's a drought? Well, Joe Tiller,
I guess what
the school that he represents, has had a drought. It's dried up on him.
1966, the last time Purdue went to the Rose Bowl. And it was a January 1st, 67 game, and they were second place in the Big Ten. The no repeat rule, Michigan State won the Big Ten that year.
Sort of a forgotten part of that Rose Bowl puzzle. Stanford, can he get to the marker? You bet he can. First down, Purdue. Now Stanford's only got 3 more years of eligibility left. How much damage is he going to do by the time he's done?
Yeah, they say he's going to be a great one. And Brees getting some wonderful protection from the big guys up front. Purdue's offensive line is doing a super job. And I'll tell you what, James Bell is going to need a play or 2 from his defense here in the second half if the Hoosiers have a hope of winning this football game. They're making things way too easy on the Boilermakers offensively.
This could be a lot worse than 20-7 for Indiana. Brees over the middle, it's deflected and very nearly picked up.
Incomplete, intended for Stratton.
Tim Stratton was the tight end who was down there, the intended receiver.
And Johnny Anderson, number 13, has a shot to really clean up on Stratton on this play, and he's a little indecisive on the hit. Ball's delivered high, and you can't help but think that number 89 heard some footsteps. The
entire year, it's all here on ABC Sports, and of course, this is the home of the Bowl Championship Series. And right now, John Stanford is making himself feel at home in the Indiana secondary. 7 catches now for the true freshman.
Yeah, those are the types of plays you have to make at quarterback if you're going to take a team to Pasadena. He's going to hit Stanford right out of his break. And as a quarterback, your vision, you feel Stanford starting to gear down a little bit. He comes out of his break and the ball's delivered right on time perfectly. That's a front pocket catch. Brees starting to get rolling here in the second half.
He's got plenty of love for his freshman receiver. Brees down to the 6. Purdue leads by 13. They lead by more, but they have already turned it over twice in this part of the field in this game.
Now the problem is that Purdue's playing so darn well on defense, not giving Indiana any breathing room. And things have been pretty easy on Purdue's offense. They have not faced any sort of urgent situation on offense, and Brees continues to click.
Low, spinning, touchdown. Second of the game for Montrell Lowe. And the Boilermakers inch even closer to Pasadena.
This is not good news for the folks at Northwestern. Light, Murskowski, Kobe, that left side of the offensive line, opening up plenty of daylight, and Purdue extends the lead.
Dorsch adds the extra point. Drew Brees, the commander of the ship, has been in command. A pair of touchdowns for Montreal Lowe. Some travel agents got the urge to make some money here in West Lafayette if this score should hold up. They're no longer trying to keep it away from Darren Graham. Right now they don't need to. Second effort, Graham is out to the 19. Darren Graham has returned kickoffs for touchdowns each of the last 2 years. Very nearly had one against Kentucky earlier in the year. Great speed. Just a junior. Indiana is going to have some players coming back next year. This is going to be a very intriguing team, of course, with Randall L. as the centerpiece in the year 2001.
Yeah, they got a lot of weapons, and number one weapon obviously is number 11. A lot of players back on defense, and Cam Cameron looking for some improvement there. When you talk about this football game, Sean, Indiana right now, the Purdue defense is forcing them to take short underneath balls in the passing game. I think Indiana has to be patient and stay with the option game.
There we go. On the delay, LeBron Williams has just not been a factor. I call you Elmer Fudd with those big orange gloves you got on today. There'll be a lot of folks not going to make it back for Christmas. 34 years is a long time to wait. You got to make it count. Randall L. escapes. He's going to get himself close to a first down out near the 30. Might be about a foot or two short.
But you're trailing in the game 27-7, and when you're behind by 20 points, your first reaction is to put the ball in the air. The problem is Purdue is forcing Indiana to be patient with the passing game. The Indiana passing game is designed to take big chunks down the field. I mean, when they're faced with 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, they go to the option. They want Randall L. to pick it up on the ground. So when you go to the air and you're always looking for the big play down the field, and you look at a defense like Brock Spack's Purdue unit right now playing so loose and so deep, it's tough for Randall L. to stay disciplined and throw the ball underneath.
Brock Spack's defense next year is going to look awful good. Obviously, the complexion of this team, as far as their national perception, will change when Breeze graduates. But they have a ton of talented athletes on the defensive side of the ball, and they have made their presence felt since the opening bell here today. Randall L. has plenty of time and overshoots Jerry Dorsey.
And that was one of the rare times where Randall L. had a receiver open and tried to take off back towards the line of scrimmage. Was not comfortable to just sit in the pocket and keep that back foot loaded. Watch him start back towards the line of scrimmage before the throw, and as a result, the ball sails on him a little bit.
Randall L. is just 4 of 11 throwing the ball in this game. But remember, he completes 48% of his passes, but this offense is not designed for a high completion percentage. There are not a lot of little short passes in it. He's throwing the ball down the field a lot.
No, the passing game for Indiana has not been a factor, and in this game last year, remember, he threw for over 300 yards.
And they took away the run from him. Now Randall L's going to throw deep, and he's got a man, Darren Graham, to the 30. They have desperately been trying to stretch the field, and finally, midway through quarter number 3, they do.
Well, Ralph Turner, number 8, is not going to play this ball very well in the air. This is a pretty good throw by Randall L. to get it out to his receiver, but Ralph Turner, you see number 8 there, did not keep his deep speed, lost track of the ball in the air. And as is the case with a lot of defensive backs at the college level, with the ball in the air, he didn't operate at high efficiency. That's the difference, Sean, between cornerbacks and safeties at the college level and then stepping up to that NFL level.
Randall L. had thrown for only 26 yards until that play. He gets 40 there. And now he will drop back out of the option look. Throw end zone, intercepted! Stuart Schweigert, the true freshman, just made the biggest play of his life.
And I'm not sure that ball was dead, Sean. Schweigert almost made a huge mistake. I don't think he was out of the end zone. He just dropped the ball. That ball was live in the end zone. Purdue very lucky to pick it up. You talk about a true freshman mistake.
Did we say freshman?
I mean, these are the roses on the line right here. Terrific play, a one-handed catch. You think he's going to, and he did not step out. And he's indecisive coming back. Let's see if we can get a shot of this.
Turner was telling him there not to run out of the end zone.
Antoine Randall thinks he's got a man deep, throws the ball a little bit late. Maybe a little bit of a push off there. Tremendous play with the left hand by Schweigert. Now, I don't know, he looks like he's offering somebody a cocktail right there. And he drops the ball on the ground. What a play.
That would have been a Molotov cocktail for Indiana had they picked it up.
What a break.
Tackle by Anderson. 8 to 5 yards.
Kind of begs the question, where were the Hoosiers? Montrell Lowe, this is a sophomore, has a couple of touchdowns. John Standiford, a true freshman, a standout day catching the ball for Purdue. He's got 7 catches. And now Stuart Schweigert is on the phone upstairs, and I imagine some of the basics are being run through on that phone call. Like many states, too close to call at this point. Breeze takes one little baby step forward in that race as he has plenty of mustard on it to Stratton for the first down.
Yeah, some people try to question Bree's arm strength. He's got above average arm strength. He does not have a howitzer. He doesn't have a gun. But this is the same route that Stratton scored on in the first half. A corner route, ball delivered just a touch late, but very accurately. And what hands the big guy, number 89, Tim Stratton.
You know, fans in West Lafayette are looking at that clock. They can't go fast enough. They waited 34 years. They're down to 22 minutes. Montrell Lowe has had a day to remember. Drew Brees throws the block. All the magical little things are coming into place.
Drew Brees is going to work downfield, but also number 80, A.T. Simpson for Purdue. Kind of the unsung guy, but he gets a nice block there on Floyd. And Lowe, if he keeps his feet, he may have a shot to go all the way. Look at Brees getting down there and working hard.
Johnny Anderson, a free safety.
That's a pretty darn good cut block right there.
Anderson's going to take that number 15 down and try to remember it. Randolph, the tight end, in motion. Another huge hole up the middle, and now battle of attrition is being won at the line of scrimmage by the Purdue Boilermakers, trying to end the 34-year drought. But our Aflac trivia question, which team has the longest Rose Bowl drought? This will be practice for when you're on with Regis. Final answer?
A lot of tears out at Strawberry Canyon over the years. And they haven't, to be fair to it, they haven't come real close. Back in the mid-70s, the Joe Roth quarterback team came pretty close. And on the Big Ten side of things, the longest drought in Minnesota. You got to go back to the 60s for the Gophers, their last trip to the Rose Bowl.
Strange year for the Gophers. Flags are down as Lowe almost got free. His first touchdown of the day looked like it was coming back, but that ended up being offside against Indiana. This time it will come back.
They have some different things to say about that, though.
Warrior has never won at Florida State. Lowe again. They are just wearing them down.
Florida State and Virginia Tech.
And what about Washington? What about the Pac-10? It's going to be muddy and interesting to watch over the next couple of weeks.
It's going to be exciting down the stretch, and you got to let things play out. And you got people out in Seattle are going to say, hey, we beat the Hurricanes. And the Ducks, depending on what goes on up at Corvallis today, they're going to say, oh, we beat the Huskies. So still a lot of time to sort through these things, and some conference championship games coming up as well.
They're all playoff games right now. Joe Tiller arrived in November of 1996. He was asked if he had a 4-year plan to win the Big Ten title. He said, 4 years? I don't want to wait 4 years. I won't have any hair left. He's got plenty of hair left, and he's got 19 and a half minutes to go to Pasadena. flags are down again.
Good, good.
Low, the ball carrier. Tackle by Anderson.
This one will go against Indiana, as you see. Well, Joe Tiller, he was asked about the 4-year plan 4 years ago, and yesterday I asked him about it coming to fruition today.
This game has no past, it has no future, it is only the present. And we need to deal with that, and if we can deal with that successfully, then we can call ourselves champions. That's huge to this football team, because these are the guys we've spent a zillion hours with the last 4 years.
Low, down to the 10. We spent about 20 minutes with Joe Tiller yesterday. Casual conversation. Talked to him on camera for a little while. And you know what 2 words he never said? Rose Bowl. He would not say the words. They're going to be that much sweeter if he gets to say them in about an hour.
You don't need to bring up those words. You just need to win this ball game. And I'll tell you what, Montrell Lowe and that offensive line are having a lot to say about it. Lowe already more yards than he had in this game last year. Remember, he had 135 yards on the ground in the 99 bucket game.
Low again. Has nothing.
And Oregon State, if they hold on in that game, Rick Neuheisel and his Washington Huskies, how big will that Apple Cup game be up in Pullman, Washington, a little later on tonight? Wow.
Attention, if your last name is Hirschman and you're seated in row 25 in section 17.
First down, we'll put the ball at the 8-yard line, as you see. But more importantly, time is just rolling off that clock. It is a clock control, ball control offense. You don't think of it that way, but it is. Normally through the air, now with a 20-point lead. It has been Montrell Lowe on the ground. 26 carries, 147 yards for Lowe. Looking here for his 3rd touchdown of the day, and he's got it. Before Dorsch can get the point away, Ron Bethel, perhaps out of frustration, takes a run at Brandon Gorin. The Hoosiers have had a frustrating season. They have been better than their 3-7 record indicates. And this is a rivalry game. They are playing for the Old Oaken Bucket, and they have played with a lot of intensity and played well today. But they have been outmanned by a team that has a pretty big game. Pretty big outcome on the line.
That Indiana defense spending a lot of time out on the field and not getting much help from their highly rated offense.
Dorsch adds the point. The curtain is closing on the Big Ten race. 3rd touchdown of the day for Montrell Lowe. The Boilers are in control. He has thrown for only 105 here today. Montrell Lowe. 3 touchdowns, and he's got 5 yards on first down. Now, I would imagine the Old Oaken Bucket is not, I mean, the Stanley Cup, you can see clearly how you can drink out of the Stanley Cup. And the Old Oaken Bucket, that would strike me as a riskier proposition.
Yeah, if it was a little bigger, you might be able to bathe in it, but I can't see drinking champagne or beer out of that thing. But Indiana on defense, they're going to have to solve this running game in a hurry. They cannot let Purdue work on the clock.
Reeves is going to keep this all the way himself. He's got a first down. He stays inbounds and is into Indiana territory. Reeves has run for a touchdown. He's caught a pass from himself.
And some missed tackles here by Indiana. I mean, they did not defense that poorly, with the exception of some shoddy tackling, and that has been a big problem for the Hoosiers over the course of this football season.
A reminder, at the conclusion of today's game, we'll select the Chevrolet player of the game for each team. Chevrolet will make a contribution to each university's General Scholarship Fund. That gentleman right there would not be a bad choice. He is played like it's a scrimmage in August. That's how cool and calm he has been. He hasn't looked like a quarterback who's playing a game with the Rose Bowl on the line.
Well, and Purdue did a nice job in the first half of getting a lead, and that can make things a lot more comfortable on you, and not only a rivalry game, but with the Rose Bowl on the line. And what else can make you a lot more comfortable is the running of Montrell Lowe.
David, you were a quarterback that went into a game with a chance to clinch a Rose Bowl appearance that eventually your UCLA team achieved back in 1985. How do you block out the magnitude of the game? Can you?
Well, it's tough, and it's always in the back of your mind. I'll tell you, when Breeze comes out of this game, he'll say, hey, this one felt a bit different than any other one I played.
The Hoosiers know that Lowe is getting it pretty much on every snap from center, and he's still getting 4 or 5 yards at a time. Look, Montrell Lowe today. One of these days he's going to tell his grandchildren that with the Rose Bowl on the line, he rolled up some huge numbers, 165 yards for Lowe today. Now, meanwhile, as they say, on the other coast, Oregon and Oregon State battling right now. Oregon State is up. If they hold on and win, they will watch Washington and Washington State as the nation's lonely eyes will turn to Rick Neuheisel's club to see if they can clinch the Rose Bowl spot, which at this point looks like it will be against Purdue. Breeze runs it up the middle, another first down. You get the feeling, having seen a lot of Indiana's games this year, they are putting forth the effort here today, David. You can't complain about it, but they just don't have the personnel to stop the offense being quarterbacked by a Drew Brees.
Yeah, not only the personnel, but Indiana, they're looking a bit worn down out there. There's some hands on some knee pads, and they spent a long time on the field in the first half, and even longer period of time here in the second half. And if Indiana can't get a stop, this one's going to be over here pretty soon.
Purdue has had it for 27 of the 47 minutes in this game. Here is Lowe again. Cuts back to the middle. He is down to the 11.
With the game on the line, things may tighten up a little bit as that fourth quarter goes on.
This is Cedric Brown, a sophomore from Victoria, Texas, getting his first carry.
His last 9 passes. If he wins that conference championship game, I think the Heisman is his.
Lowe turns the corner. A run for the Roses and a leap for the Roses, but he'll fall a yard short. What a day. He doesn't want to come out of this game.
Well, Montrell Lowe is having a wonderful game, but first you have to give credit to the offensive line. The offensive line, in my book, the most important position, and I know there are 5 of them, but to me it's the most important spot on the field. You can win sometimes with a quarterback that's above average. You cannot win with an offensive line that's below average, and they get the extra added benefit of having number 15 playing quarterback for him.
Lowe, 4th touchdown of the day. Dorsch adds the extra point. To witness something most have not seen in their lifetime. A.C. Carter will try one. He is still on his feet. Look at the cutback and a saving tackle made by guess who? Stuart Schweiger. He has made play after play after play.
Yeah, Schweiger doesn't make that play, and that's a touchdown.
Schweigert, a true freshman, an option quarterback in high school a year ago, a battle to determine which side of the ball he was going to play on here. He could have played on either. And injuries to a veteran in the secondary, Ben Smith, gave him the opportunity to play, and has he ever taken advantage of it? Buck's back told us yesterday he is just stunned by all he has been able to accomplish, being so young, playing such an important position on defense. Randall L. overthrows Dwayne Hogan. And for the first time today, some chinks in the armor of Antoine Randall L. A game that began promising for Indiana on their second possession. They were driving in a scoreless game. But Randall L. was hit by Gilbert Gardner, another true freshman, put it on the ground. Drew Brees then took over on offense after a slow start. And today he has turned it over to the sophomore Montrell Lowe, who has run for 4 touchdowns. Schweigert, a big interception in the end zone of Antoine Randall L. And despite Randall L's best efforts, the Purdue defense has done all they could hope to do against Antoine Randall L today, and maybe have played him as tough, with the exception of Michigan, as anybody in the Big Ten this year. Jerry Dorsey on the long completion.
Yeah, this type of passing play has been missing in the Indiana arsenal. The intermediate route, the dig route at about 22 yards. A nice play by Dorsey, nice sharp cut into the middle of the defense, and one of the nicest balls we've seen from Antoine Randall L all day long.
Again, Randall L has to get rid of it quickly. Adele was in that passing lane, almost battered it down on ESPN as well.
A tough loss for Pittsburgh last week.
They have had I mean, how many phone calls of apology can you get from the league? What's the limit on that?
An onside kick gone terribly wrong for the Steelers.
Randall has a little more time. Nothing he can do with it. And there's the pursuit. Sean Phillips, the freshman, and it's funny when you're up by 4 touchdowns in the fourth quarter how you don't get as fatigued as easily, and this young Purdue defense is still chasing Antoine Randall all over the field.
You hear so much about the Purdue passing game, Brees putting the ball in the air, but when it came time to clinch the Rose Bowl berth and win this big rivalry game, it's really been the Purdue defense and the running game for the Boilermakers that has been the difference in this ball game.
Low is the story right now. 4 touchdowns. I said these freshmen and sophomores for Purdue are playing like it's the spring game. They don't look like they're under any pressure at all, and that was not the case a week ago in East Lansing. The completion, Levron Williams, who underutilized a little bit today. He is short of a Indiana first down. Well, time permitting, after this one, stay tuned for the Thrifty Car Rental post-game report. Scores and highlights. John and Terry, get yourself organized after this day. You're in the middle of the day and all the games are going on. That's when it gets crazy. That's when you got to kind of sit back in the pocket a little bit, try to see all the different progressions, all the different games that have taken place, all the different races and the different conferences and the rivalries, and try to figure out what's happening. That's why John Saunders reads that progression better than anybody in the business.
And I'll tell you what, Brock Spack, the defensive coordinator for Purdue, you look at that scoreboard, 13 points put up on the scoreboard by that explosive Hoosier offensive unit, and Spack has gotten done what he targeted this week. He's taken the option game away from Indiana, and he has contained Antoine Randall L for the most part and not allowed him to escape the pocket. Great game plan coming to this one, designed by Brock Spack.
The reaction of the crowd was for an announcement made at Ross-Ade Stadium regarding the number to call to get tickets for Purdue's next game. On 4th down, Indiana stays alive. Joe Odom comes across to rock Dwayne Hogan's world and make him pay for that first down.
And after the Hoosiers cut the lead to 21 points, the drive they're going to look back on is that last drive by the Boilermakers. I'll tell you what, Drew Brees has really come of age with all the numbers of all-time leading passer in Big Ten history. He has stepped up and made the grade. Now he's headed out west.
making it even more amazing is when you consider how close Purdue came to not even having this opportunity. Long pass complete, the ball's on the ground, they will call it incomplete. When the story of this Purdue season is written, they will remember a variety of close shaves. They trailed Michigan 28-10, and Travis Dorsch missed a field goal about 2 minutes before that to try to win the game. That was the final play of the game. How about Craig Terrell blocking the field goal in overtime against Wisconsin, and Ashante Woodyard returning it for the score and the win at Camp Randall Stadium. And no one who is here will ever forget the touchdown completion to Seth Morales of 78 yards thrown by Drew Brees in the fourth quarter after Brees had very nearly thrown that game away 3 plays earlier.
ABC's own Gary Danielson said that was the biggest clutch pass he'd seen in the last 10 years doing games for ABC Sports. That's saying a lot.
How could you argue that? Henry Frazier is making LeBron Williams on the completion. It was an amazing fourth quarter, one in which Drew Brees for 3 quarters just flirted with disaster, and then finally when it hit him smack between the eyes, that was the defining moment of the season. Warren Moore, Ike Moore, a defensive lineman for Purdue, went over to Drew Brees after he threw that interception against Ohio State, put his arm around him and said, "Don't forget what your mother always says. If you break it, you fix it." Randall escapes over the middle. He's got Dorsey. That's an Indiana first down. 3 plays later, Drew Brees fixed it all right. He won that game, and now if you take another step backwards, you look at last week, it was broken again for Michigan against Michigan State, wasn't it? But today, they have fixed it.
And you said it, Sean. Things got a little bit tighter for not only the Purdue players and coaches, but West Lafayette and the entire community after losing to the last place team in the Big Ten and forcing a must-win situation today. And
how about going golf shirt? It's about 25 degrees down on the field. Randall he has no trouble staying cool under pressure. Ralph Turner comes up to put the hit on him, but that clock is going to keep on rolling. Indiana may have the most dangerous offensive player in the league, the one that Ralph Turner just stuck, but they don't have an offensive system that makes it very easy for them to make up a lot of points in a short amount of time.
Especially when you're sitting there down 28 points and less than 6 minutes to go in this football game.
Second down and 3.
What a game defensively for the Boilermakers.
Randall as you can imagine, there's a ton of freedom from offensive coordinator Hal Hunter based on what he sees at the line of scrimmage. And what he sees is another loss. Flag down. Might have been a face mask. Of course, if you're an Indiana football fan, the biggest question, your biggest concern on the table is not necessarily this call.
Personal foul, face mask on the defense, half the distance, automatic first down.
But will Antoine Randall come back next year for his senior year?
Yeah, that's Joe Odom getting a big handful of face mask, and you know, in my book that might have been a 5-yarder, but you got to err on the conservative side there, and it did produce a tackle. So Indiana going to go to work with a first down here with just over 5 minutes to go.
Randall has said he will be back for his senior year. Is there an NFL future for Antoine Randall? I asked that question when we talked to Indiana coaches on Wednesday, and they say absolutely. It may not be as a quarterback, although the way the quarterback position is starting to evolve at the NFL level, you just don't know. Randall, end zone. Turner, make it Schweigert, got it. Stu Schweigert's second interception of the second half.
And the 5th interception of the year for this super true freshman. I mean, you can't make a better play and a better break on the ball as a free safety than the one Schweigert made there. Super play. by the true freshman.
And you can't do it in a bigger game. It's getting close in West Lafayette. Does Stuart Schweigert have some instincts for the game or what?
The true freshman.
Schweigert cutting across to make the play. He read Randall L all the way, kept that 1 foot inbounds. His second interception of the second half. And now the only concern for Drew Brees, Montrell Lowe is getting out of the end zone. He stopped for a moment on the line and fights forward for a couple of yards.
Gain of 1.
The Purdue team, as an offensive team, as a total team, as you look at a player you might not have been overly familiar with before today, Montrell Lowe. When you think Purdue football, you think number 15. You think Drew Brees. But the supporting cast around him, the offensive line that David talked about, Montrell Lowe, and an improving defense is going to make this a very interesting team next year. Lowe, not near the 8-yard line. That's not the Old Oaken Bucket, but Joe Tiller may get that one before he gets the trophy one.
3rd and 3. That carry, Montrell Lowe is going over.
This might be the most difficult portion of the game. Not the game plan, but planning the ice bucket shower. Brees will keep it himself. First down. He has picked his spots on the bootleg, and they have been big ones. He has run for first downs. He has run for a touchdown. David Norrie has headed downstairs to the field at Ross-Ade Stadium, where a celebration is 3 minutes and 2 seconds away. There were, as you can imagine, a lot of security concerns here in West Lafayette this week. Extra security was added. Low. Doesn't have much, but the clock will keep on rolling. 34 years ago, January 2nd, 1967, the team led by Bob Greasy built a third quarter lead on USC, and they would hold on to win by a final of 14-13. And USC went for 2 in the fourth quarter, didn't get it. And the Purdue Boilermakers would win the Rose Bowl. And who could have imagined then how long it would be before they would return? They still had a lot of talent on their team. In the late 60s. Leroy Keys, there's Montrell Lowe, rolling his way across the 200-yard mark. Brees in conversation with his head coach. And you may notice that the head coach is a little wet. Here's why. How's that for element of surprise? See, Joe Tiller has been around the block. If that clock gets down to 10 seconds left, he knows it's coming. But you hit the head coach with 1:55 to go, you're in business. Look at the third down numbers for perhaps the best third down team in the country this year. Drew Brees' squad have been hitting at 56% this year on third down conversion. Those numbers are simply breathtaking. Joe Tiller is going to make some changes on the offensive line, and he is going to make a change at quarterback. Drew Brees' afternoon is over. The embrace from Matt Mitrione. And how about those numbers in the biggest game of his life? Chucky Okobe, his center, who volunteered this week to play defense. If Joe Tiller needed someone to stop Antoine Randall, the center Okobe said, "I'll do it, coach, if nobody else can." David Edgerton, a senior who has not played this year, a junior college transfer. Hands to Montrell Lowe. And what a great gesture for Joe Tiller. Brandon Hance, a true freshman, is Drew Brees' true backup, and he will be the quarterback next year. But Joe Tiller will give David Edgerton a chance to be on the field. Purdue will have to punt. It has not been a busy day for the punter, Scott Kurz. There is David Edgerton, who now has a story to tell. See if they can get this punt off. They will. Darren Graham calls for a fair catch. 19 seconds remain on the clock. It's been a breeze today for Purdue. For every player, for every coach, for every trainer and manager and secretary in a football office, these are the moments you wait your whole life for. This is why you work the hours. And these are the moments you remember for the rest of your life. Think of the great players that have worn a Purdue uniform since the last time they made it to the Rose Bowl. Pass is completed and out of bounds. Players that never got a chance to play in Pasadena. Before Joe Tiller arrived, Mike Allstott, Otis Armstrong, Jim Everett, Mike Phipps, Len Dawson, Rod Woodson. Our Chevy truck players of the game, in recognition of their efforts, Antoine, Randall, and Drew Brees Chevrolet will make a $1,000 contribution to each university's general scholarship fund. Randall will throw it deep. Got a man down there, and this one is almost intercepted. If you think back as the bucket is in hand, how close Purdue came to not being here at all. The win against Ohio State, down by 18 at home to Michigan. And it has most likely come down to a final play. They have waited a lifetime, 34 years. And now for Purdue, the wait is over. California, here they come.